What's going on, guys? Chase with iDub Hockey, hanging out today with Trevor, who's the product manager of skates for CCM Hockey. Trevor, we've got some really exciting technology and stories to hear about this new fit system from CCM. So before we start diving into the specifics, what was the goal coming out with these three new fit profiles for your skate lines this year?
Well, the goal was definitely to allow every single player out there to be able to find their best fit in either of our three subfamilies, whether it be Tax, Ripcore, or Jet Speed. Previously, our families had evolved to a point where they were not identical fits between them. A D and a double E fit differently depending on what sub-brand you were in. And that led to players selecting their skates based on fit and not based on the performance elements that those skates were designed for. So we really wanted to be able to have every player get the best skate for them and have it fit the best as well.
So you're kind of flipping the shopping process. Let's shop by performance first, and then we'll find the perfect fit second, correct?
That's correct. Well, the idea being that the perfect fit can come in any family.
Right. So real quick, before we start talking about the three different fits, how would you differentiate the three families from one another? Because like we talked about, that's going to be your first step in the shopping process.
Absolutely. So the Tax line is designed for a power skater. So you think big, strong strides, intense movements. The Ripcore is for an agile player, someone who's doing sharp turns close to the ice. And the Jet Speed is very much a hybrid between the two, but is very focused on acceleration.
It's kind of like the best of both worlds between the two, right?
Exactly.
Well, let's hop into the three fits. We've talked a lot off camera. There's so many cool, research elements, design elements that have gone into these three fit profiles. So let's walk us through the tapered, regular, and wide, and how they differentiate from one another.
Absolutely. So we knew that we had an issue with our fits not being consistent across the line, and we wanted to change that, as I mentioned. So we really took a blank canvas approach using 4 or 5 years of custom scanning data that we have to really look at what are the true variances in foot shapes that exist out there in our hockey players, and then how can we design our skate sizing to be able to make sure that we cover as many of those variations among human feet as we possibly can. So we really started with the data and said, okay, this is where we have the opportunity to fit X percentage of people in a regular fit, X percentage of people in a tapered fit, and a certain percentage of people in a wide fit as well. And we wanted to make sure that we were covering, like I said, as many players as possible, but really using the science and the scanning data that we have to inform what the dimensions of those should be.
So it sounds like unless you likely needed custom skates your entire playing career, you're going to be able to find a great fit, whether it's tapered, regular, and wide. And we talked a little bit about percentages. So what's the likelihood that I'm going to end up in a regular fit compared to a taper fit if I'm not that well informed about my foot shapes?
Right. Good question. So essentially the data that we have suggests that 42% of players would fit in a regular fit, 33% would fit in the narrow or tapered fit, and 25% of players in the wide fit.
Interesting. So most people, I guess it makes sense, are going to fit into the regular fit. Most people do kind of have a standard foot. Second most likely is going to be a tapered, a little more low profile fit. And then lastly, the wide fit, high profile. Is going to be a little less likely, but still, like you said, it covers the vast majority of players out there. CCM has always had really unique fits. I remember the first time I stepped into a Jet Speed, how tight that heel lock was. Super Tax has always been known for a medium to wide profile fit. So I know we use the term inspired by, these previous fits. So let's walk through tapered and, what's the closest fit from the previous fit system would you equate it to?
So exactly as you mentioned, our tapered fit is very close to what a D Jet Speed would have been prior to the 2021 FT4 line that's coming out. And so we knew that Jet Speed had a narrower fit, but that was bringing people who may have been best suited in terms of skating style to play in Jet Speed to move towards either a ribcore or a tax solely because of the fit.
Right. And how would you, if you know off the top of your head, how does the Jet Speed D actually vary from that tapered? If I've been a longtime Jet Speed D fan, how would you describe the differences in fit there?
It would fit very similarly. I can't say that there's specific parts that have been measured to fit differently intentionally, but they would very much feel extremely comfortable in what our new tapered is.
Gotcha. Now let's move over to the most popular, most likely option for skaters out there, regular fit. What's the story here?
So the regular fit would be closest to what our SuperTax D fit was previously. But again, blank canvas approach here. So I think every player who falls into regular based on how their foot is sized will be very happy wearing any of our new regular fits.
Right. I like how we just reiterate, it's close, it's not going to be identical, but it's an inspiration to it. And then
we're using it as a guide because we know that people are familiar with it, but we've really gone from scratch.
Awesome. And let's finish this up with wide fit. What's the inspiration here?
So the wide fit would be very close to the SuperTax Double E previously, which was the widest skate we had in our line.
Right. And one thing that we haven't talked about is how ribcore, D, and Double E fit into the regular and wide. So like you said, it's a blank canvas here, but to give that ribcore, that longtime user, a good starting point, where would you recommend the ribcore D and the ribcore Double E user hop into one of these fits?
Absolutely. The ribcore D would most likely fall into our regular fit and the ribcore Double E into a wide fit.
Perfect. So it's really cool because like we said, you're shopping performance fits first, and then you're going to find the perfect fit. And if we covered the differences between SuperTax and Jet Speed and ribcore and that style of play, the style of skater. But if you're more of a visual observer here, how would you describe in terms of CCM Pro players who best fits the Jet Speed mold, the SuperTax mold, and maybe the ribcore mold? That's
a great question. Well, the evolution of who the SuperTax player is actually forever changing. As we see, we used to speak to SuperTax as a Alex Ovechkin or a Brent Burns, but as we see those more traditional power skaters starting to change, today we would lean more towards a Seth Jones or a Matt Barzal who wearing SuperTax skates, who represent more the modern version of what today's pro power skater looks like.
And that Barzal guy is a little bit fast, and those guys really are that north to south, just insane top end speed. So the Jet Speed family is no slouch either. You got a couple big names I've seen using these very flashy, good looking skates. Who can you speak to using these right now in the NHL?
Well, Connor McDavid is always how we like to describe our Jet Speed line, but as we're seeing with the FT4 Pros, we're converting a lot of NHL players as we speak into those skates. In fact, Josh Anderson, I believe, is going to be wearing them for the first Montreal Canadiens playoff game coming up shortly.
That's awesome. And I've seen Austin Matthews wear them, and that's such a good-looking skate that's really popping out there. But, those are some great names, and I would imagine ribcore has a couple heavy hitters there too. So as far as the style of play, how would you describe a ribcore player?
Ribcore player would be, think of a Sidney Crosby, but also a Nathan McKinnon is a ribcore user as well. So those players like to be very tight to the ice as they're moving around, and the ribcore skate allows them to do so while remaining sturdy and on their feet.
Yeah, I feel that the edge work that those two have really tell the story of how well that Jet Speed or that ribcore skate really allows them to perform like that. But Trevor, I just want to say thank you so much for sitting down and walking us through these three families. I can't wait to try them out myself. And then for you guys at home that want to check out all three skate families in the new CCM Fit system, make sure you head over to icewarehouse.com.